Today, we're going to look at two totally different blueprints for life. You've got the slow, steady, brilliant approach of plants, and then you've got the fast, complicated, high-energy systems that we humans use. And you know what? We're both trying to solve the exact same problems. The solutions, though, wildly different.
So let's just start with this question. Really think about it for a second. What could you possibly have in common with that tree in your backyard? You're moving around, thinking, your heart's beating. A tree just kind of stands there, right? Well, it turns out you two are way more alike than you think, because you're both facing the same massive life challenges.
So, what are these big problems? It really just boils down to a few universal challenges for any complex life form. First, you need some internal plumbing to move stuff around. Second, you gotta have a waste management plan to get rid of the trash. And third, you need a communication network so all the parts can work together. Let's dig into that internal plumbing first. Okay, let's tackle that first challenge, transportation. For us, that's pretty obvious, right? It's our circulatory system. But what about a plant? It's stuck in one spot. How in the world does it get water from its roots all the way up to its highest leaf?
Just picture it. A giant sequoia can be over 300 feet tall. That's massive, and has no muscles, no pump, not a single heart, to fight gravity and shove water all the way up to the top. So, how does it pull off this incredible feat? Well, the answer is just a beautiful, passive piece of engineering.
The secret is this amazing two-part system that works day and night. At night, what's called root pressure gets to work, with the roots basically pushing water up from below. But the real powerhouse, the main event, happens during the day. It's called transpiration. As water evaporates from the leaves, it creates this unbelievably powerful suction. It's literally like the tree is sipping water through a 300-foot straw, pulling it all the way up from the ground without flexing a single muscle.
But, water's only half the story. Plants also have to move food, all that sugar they make in their leaves, down to the parts that can't photosynthesize, like the roots. And that process, called translocation, is totally different. It is an active job. The plant has to spend energy, its cellular currency, ATP, to get it done. So just think about that for a second. For a plant, drinking is passive and easy, but eating is actually hard work.
All right, on to problem number 2, waste. Every living thing creates metabolic garbage. We've got a pretty complicated system to handle it. But what does a plant do? It can't exactly get up and take out the trash.
And oh man, our strategies could not be more different. We humans have what you'd call a filter and expel system. It's very active. Plants, on the other hand, have this genius store and shed strategy. It's brilliant. Why bother actively getting rid of waste when you can just pack it all into a leaf that's going to fall off anyway? Or they can just store it as harmless stuff like resin in their old wood. It's so efficient and low effort.
Our way of doing things is the complete opposite. It's like we're running a high-tech, high-energy factory 24/7. Our blood is constantly getting pumped through our kidneys, which are these amazing little filters. They pull out all the junk, turn it into urine, and then store it to be expelled later. It's a non-stop cleaning service, and it takes a ton of energy to keep it running.
Okay, so we've got plumbing, we've got waste management. But how do you coordinate all these moving parts? That brings us to our final big challenge, communication. How does an organism manage its own body and react to what's happening in the world around it?
To solve this, we humans have this really cool two-speed system. First, there's the nervous system. You can think of this like sending a text message. It's super fast, it's electrical, and it goes to one specific target, like when you pull your hand away from a hot stove. Bam! Instant. Then there's the endocrine system. This is more like sending a company-wide email. It sends chemical messengers, hormones, through the blood. It's slower, but the message goes everywhere and the effects last a lot longer.
And who's running this whole two-speed network? Well, that would be our central command, the brain. You can almost think of it like the executive suite of a company. The cerebrum, that's the CEO. It handles all the big picture stuff, memory, conscious thought. The cerebellum is the COO. It's coordinating all the movement and balance. And the medulla oblongata, that's the building manager, just keeping the lights on, running all the autopilot stuff like your breathing and heartbeat. It's this super centralized control system. So that's us. Central command, lightning-fast nerves. But plants, they don't have a brain. They don't have any nerves. So how do they coordinate anything at all? Well, they rely entirely on a chemical network. It's this super sophisticated system of hormones that basically tells the plant everything it needs to do. So instead of a brain, you can think of plants as having this powerful chemical toolkit. They produce all these different hormones that act as messengers. You've got your go signals, like auxins and gibberellins, that tell the plant, hey, grow bigger, grow taller. You have cytokinins that kickstart cell division, and then you have a very important stop signal, abscisic acid, which basically slams on the brakes during stressful times to slow everything down. It's this constant, complicated chemical conversation happening all the time.
So when you step back and you look at the whole picture, you really start to see these two completely different blueprints for life, both trying to achieve the exact same goal, just plain old survival.
And that really gets us to the core strategic difference between us. Plants are these decentralized masters of adaptation. They rely on passive forces whenever they can, they store their problems instead of dealing with them immediately, and they communicate with these slow, widespread chemical signals. We humans are the polar opposite. We are centralized and built for a rapid response. We burn a ton of energy to power our active systems and our fast central command center that lets us react in an instant.
I think this really sums it up perfectly. Both of us are solving for survival, sure, but one built a slow, incredibly resilient factory that can take a beating and keep on chugging, and the other built a fast, complex, high-maintenance metropolis. It's incredibly powerful, but a lot more fragile if one of its critical systems fails. And that kind of leaves us with one last idea to chew on. When we see a plant's leaves wilting or see it bending towards the sunlight, we tend to think of it as just a passive thing happening to the plant. But now that we know it's all being directed by this complex internal chemical network, you have to wonder, are they actually more in control of their own fate than we give them credit for? It's something to think about next time you look out the window.